howdy folks. I'm Mike Garrity. I'm here with Dr. Dustin Nelson, and you have just tuned in to Brosé Live. Just a couple of bros drinking rosé and talking fitness. You noticed I put a little word in between brosé and the period, and that was the word live. That means we are rolling, what's a fancy word for live?
Vive, live. I don't know, we're just going live.
Living La Vida live, folks. So that means if we make a mistake, you're making it with us. But we're all in this together. It's a safe place. We love you, you love us, and let's do it. All right, you ready for some questions?
Sure, yeah, looking forward to it.
Was that a real laugh?
That was a real laugh.
Hell yeah.
Because we're live.
All right, this is a question submitted from a complete stranger, and I think they're talking about a big hypothetical here, but in general, if someone was to go elk hunting and they were a little out of shape, how do they train to get in shape for elk hunting?
Is this your
They
question,
could.
Mike?
I did. I wrote this.
You wrote it?
Yeah.
Is any particular reason?
Yeah, because I got a tag.
You got a
going
tag?
Out, yeah. I'm going out with my brother-in-law, and I'm really out of shape.
Congrats,
it's going to be
dude.
brutal.
Congrats.
Thank you.
That's a big deal, right?
It is. It's like winning the lotto for rednecks.
Right. It is a bit like a lotto. Well, congratulations. I know that's a big deal for you. I'm excited for you. What was your question, though?
Got some
Got some
old
beer.
world berries in there.
Yeah, this might be your beard, but
What is
a
that?
lot of beard.
Just a tooth. We're good. The question is, how do you train for something like elk hunting?
Oh, okay. Yeah. It's
I
not
don't have a
question I
mountain
get a
in my
lot of.
backyard to climb every day to get in shape for this. I have a gym. So how do I train to get
That's
ready
okay.
for
You don't
hunting?
need you don't need a mountain. Well, there's ways to train for different things. So if you're going to train to lift a lot of weight, like one time like a power lifter, you train for that in one specific way. Or if you want to train to have like big muscles, there's another way to train for that. And if you're training for endurance sports or things like hunting, believe it or not, it's really kind of an endurance sport because let me get this right. You're rucking, yes.
Yeah.
You're climbing probably a lot of terrain, a lot of hiking and those kinds of things for long periods of time. You're exposed to the elements for a long period of time as well. And if you're doing it at elevation, you're doing it without a lot of accessibility to oxygen, right?
Yeah.
So this is a lot of cardiovascular ability and some structural stuff in terms of your hip drive and being able to handle the terrain with your hamstring strength and things like your quads and your psoas, so low back.
So I'll tell you, when I'm hunting, often I got a real heavy pack on. I'm climbing up a steep hill or mountain with loose footing, and the way I feel is that every muscle on my body is exploding away from my skeleton, and I'm going to die any second. So I want to get less of that feeling on this trip.
So one of the things that you just mentioned is when you're going into a mountain face, you're going to have a tendency to lean forward.
Yeah.
You do this when you climb stairs too. It's not the terrain. You don't stand straight up when you walk upstairs, right? You forward lean, and that's going to increase the amount of muscle recruitment we're going to have in our lower back, our core, right? So our lower back, our glutes, our hamstrings, those types of things. So you're going to want to train those, but you're not just going to want to train those to lift a lot of weight one time or for hypertrophic or aesthetic goals. You're going to want to do that to be able to repeat that for long periods of time. And that means we're probably going to go into those higher rep ranges. We also want to go into that kind of what we consider to be like a lactic or aerobic energy system where we're finding that burny feeling, right?
Yes, when the muscles feel like they're exploding away from your skeleton.
Yeah, okay, that's what that is. So the way we would train that would be with programming that can get you into that kind of endurance phases where you're training for maybe 2 minutes per set kind of deal, and doing it with muscles that have that type of function. So maybe you're hamstring curling, you're split squatting, you're doing back extensions, which are more for your hamstrings than your lower back. But it's about strengthening those muscles. So focus on the hamstrings, focus on the glutes, focus on split squatting, walking lunges, those kinds of things. Get yourself into that rep range where you're at 12 to 15 to 20 to 25. Really focus on your aerobic capacity, and you'll improve your ability to go to altitude and maybe bag an elk.
Okay, so essentially, work out your ass until it feels like it's on fire for as long as you possibly can, and then do it again until you're done. Literally done. Sound good?
Sounds
What about those masks that you run on the trail.
Oh yeah, if we're training for elevation,
Right.
if you want to train to hunt and work hard in elevation, can you use those masks that make it harder to breathe?
Those I wouldn't use that. I wouldn't recommend it, mostly because I really don't have the evidence to support that those things are any good. It's a
I
little.
was born in the darkness.
Yeah, that's a good movie. And also a very good impression. Tom Hardy's winning jiu-jitsu tournaments.
Yeah, I'll put Tom Hardy on his ass. Tag him.
Let's go to claim. This works in a lot of capacities. We do things in fitness that seem like they make sense, like using, I'm going to put myself in an unstable environment or step on a vibration plate because if it makes me unstable, I'll be more stable when I go on land. It just doesn't work that way. In fact, those things can often make you less strong because you're not creating as much force and using your nervous system to actually recruit motor units. So destabilizing yourself in a training environment can actually make you less strong. And the same type of thing when we think about oxygen. I get that the idea of saying, hey, if I wear this mask and it reduces my oxygen, it'll make me have more oxygen when I actually have access to more air. It just doesn't really work out that way in the research, and I've never seen a competitive advantage, but I have seen negative effects, so I would not recommend that. Save your money. Go another way.
What's one trick you can do to get ready for high altitude?
Using things like beetroot powders and things that would improve your nitric oxide production. Those things can help, or anything that we would use to improve cardiovascular function through the endothelial lining of the vascular system.
AKA Vano, made by a
Vano is
recovering
good.
bro.
Yep.
This was not supposed to be a plug, but it is.
Yeah.
Next question. How do I get better at probiotics?
How do you get better at are you making them?
No, yeah. Yeah, I'm in my basement just growing germs.
A lot of bacteria.
That explains my teen years as well. No, okay, so I've heard you say that you can't probiotic your way out of a bad diet or out of bad habits, but...
No, hold on. I said you can't probiotic your way out of a bad gut health. Oh,
you can't? Okay, so if you can't probiotic your way out of bad gut health, how do you use probiotics to improve gut health?
Well, you can, but so it's a little like saying, I've got a leaky faucet in my tub, so I'm just going to throw a bunch of towels down. That'll help you in the short term, but if you really want to, make it dry in there, you got to turn the spigot off. You got to get to the root issue. And a lot of times, what we're talking about with an issue is whether or not it's the root of the issue or the branch of the issue. Okay, and so when it comes to probiotics, what we're looking at in general are two primary categories. The first category over here is population, the total amount of bacteria that we have in our small bowel or our small intestines.
Colony.
Yeah, good. Yeah, so how much do we have? And then over here we have the diversity of those microbes. So we want to have a lot of different types of bacteria in there to make us strong. And so we want to kind of use those left foot, right foot. But we don't, one of the big mistakes that I see, or should say, one of the areas of opportunity we have to get better with probiotics is to focus on using a lot for a very short period of time, kind of like an antibiotic. You don't take a little bit for a long period of time, you take a lot of it for a short period of time. So if you're going to repopulate yourself, you put a lot in for a very short period of time, and then you create diversity after you've populated. Okay? So that's where our multi-strains and those types of things come in. Now, the reason I say you can't probiotic out of it is because why were they low in the first place? Was that because we have poor intestinal integrity? Is it because we had made some additional choices?
Like what if it's because someone drinks too much?
Yeah, exactly. So we might look at things that might help mend the innards or to reduce the inflammation or the inflammation in the tight junctions. So your intestines aren't one long tube. They're a bunch of sections of tube, right?
It's all fucked up in there. I've seen it.
Okay. Well,
it's a real mess.
Your intestines are not one long tube. They're a bunch of like small bridges. And when you get inflammation or things that can help create more gaps there in the tight junctions, that's when you start passing food to your immune system and it reacts. So if you put a bunch of probiotics in to help deal with that, that's good. You get them in the intestinal tract. But unless you deal with those tight junctions and maybe some of the inflammatory conditions, not going to go away. So what you would want to use is a root and branch approach. So you would want to reduce the inflammation, rats. You want to reduce the inflammation, and then you want to repopulate.
All right, so let's say someone, anyone, it could be anyone, drinks a lot, and that's caused them to have a bad bacteria balance in their gut. What you need to do is focus on healing the gut first, then take some high-dose probiotics for a short amount of time, follow it up with some multi-strain.
Very good. Yeah.
That's all I got, or all someone's got to do?
Well, maybe, but
Maybe it's good enough.
But it's a good start. It's a good start.
What's the best way to heal those guts?
So when you say that about quote unquote healing the guts, what we look at is 4 different sections we have with digestion. So the first is, where do you have in your gastric acid, or your ability to break down the food in your stomach? Then you have your intestinal integrity, which is what we're talking about with the inflammation. Your microbial balance, so making sure you have good gut bacteria, and then have enough ATP or energy to keep the trains moving so you don't constipate, right? So the bacterial things we do for Belly Buddies is high dose and multi-strain, like you said. You do a little bit of high dose and a little multi-strain. The gastric acid, what do we use for that?
Gurgle X.
We use Gurgle X.
Morning margarita.
Morning margarita, that's the one we start with, right? Really good. Man, you've been studying.
Fresh off the presses. Look at that. Whoa.
Whoa, that's hot.
Yeah.
Can I
Show a camera.
just put it here?
Yeah, so that, Mike, is,
Wow.
so this formula is guided anti-inflammatory for the intestinal tract to really smooth out those tubes. And then also we use those Eastern herbs in there, like licorice. It'll also help improve the transit time, so we don't constipate. And then we use astragalus, which is a preeminent herb in Eastern medicine for digestion. So not only does it improve our ability to digest food and help us with our gastric acid, it also actually helps us with our adaptive immune system. So it can help us with food sensitivity.
So how long do I take that before I start the high dose probiotics?
Yeah, what I would generally recommend with that is that's fantastic to take daily for 1 or 2 scoops, and then just twice a day, because it's got about a 6 to 12 hour half-life on those herbs, and meaning that they peak and then they drop. And then after you've done that for a week or 2 and you kind of drop that inflammation, then if you go with the probiotics, it can be really effective.
We might have just solved my ass problem, guys. Well, you know what that means. You heard the old Garrity Winky noise, which means it's time to hit you with the lightning round, brother.
Okay.
How do I get strong inside of my car?
Physically, you don't.
Does coffee count towards my water goal?
No.
Can I eat too much protein powder?
Yes.
I want to know why on the last one, actually.
Okay.
We're almost out of time here.
Okay,
But
I'll go and say this. Physically, so you can do mental exercising, but if you were going to do any exercise, it's the opposite of Stallone over the top.
Oh,
That would
yeah,
go
so if
external
you're trying to do
rotation. I'm talking. Let me finish. It's lightning round.
let them know what we're talking about.
Protein powder can constipate you. Yeah, and it can really mess with your gut. So you want to use that sparingly in the right time after your workout. What was the other one?
Coffee, water goal.
I would actually distract it. So if you drink 16 ounces of coffee, not only does it not count to your water goal, you have to add 16 ounces.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And because I think we glossed over this, if you're Sylvester Stallone and over the top trying to get stronger at arm wrestling,
Yeah.
he's doing it backwards, right?
I would go external.
Yeah, other way around, Stallone. Fucking idiot. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Brosé. Thank you so much for joining us.
Stallone's not an idiot either.
Stallone, I'll put Stallone on his fucking ass too. Tag him.
I don't.